Warm greetings from the high tent. It's Everyday Shenanigans, and thanks for joining me. Hope you all are having a wonderful week. It's almost time for the weekend. If I do not bring any commentary on Friday, please have a safe and blessed weekend. This commentary is pertaining to the Moab murders. A suspect has been ID'd, and I will also recap the capture of Vicki White and Casey White. I will play you commentary pertaining to the mindset of Vicki White, what drove her to exact this crazy and bizarre crime of aiding a inmate, out of a jail, and later to go on the run, switching cars, staying in a hotel, paid a homeless man to rent a room, and the untimely death of Vicki White by suicide, and then the capture, naturally, apprehension of her lover, Casey White. And we will also talk about where he is, which is in a prison in Alabama. Thank you for joining me.
Suspect in Moab double murder of newlyweds is identified. By Tracy Connor. Utah authorities say they have identified a suspect in the murder of a couple camping out in Moab, a fast food worker who confided in someone that he had killed 2 women. But cops say there is no chance that Adam Pinkushevich will be brought to justice. After the double homicide of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Beck, he left the state and killed himself. It's a stunning turn of events in a case that had frustrated investigators since Schulte and Beck were found shot to death in August off a scenic road that runs through a national forest. Although Adam Pinkushevich has been identified as a suspect, this is still an ongoing investigation and the case is not closed, the Grand County Sheriff said in a statement on Wednesday. Newlyweds Schulte, 24, and Beck, 38, went missing last summer after telling friends there was a weirdo camping near them in the mountains, according to Schulte's father. A desperate search for the couple led to heartache when a friend of the family, acting on a hunch, found their bodies. For months, family and friends tried to keep the spotlight on the case, hoping a break would lead to the killer. They even summoned Dwayne, Dog the Bounty Hunter, Chapman to the area to investigate last weekend. In its statement, the sheriff's office said Pinkushevich, who had worked at a local McDonald's, was identified as a person of interest early in the investigation, but he had already left Utah. Police recently received information that prior to committing suicide, Pinkushevich told another party that he had killed 2 women in Utah and provided specific details that were known only to investigators. The sheriff did not disclose those details or any other aspects of the investigation beyond the fact that forensic experts are now combing over the suspect's 2007 Yaris. An amateur crime sleuth nicknamed Bullhorn Betty interviewed workers at the Moab McDonald's in November, and one of the employees named Pinkushevich as someone they suspected could be the killer. They described him as a homeless former worker who had gotten into a fight with another lesbian couple and was bad news. They said he had failed to pick up his last check after the killings.
All right, that's sad information. I'm going to recap that with the article. The Daily Beast is the source if you need verification for the information. When you open up this article by the Daily Beast, you will see what appears to be a blue background of a driver license photograph of this suspect. He is fuller in the face, but the picture to the right, he's not wearing a shirt, has glasses up on his head, and he seems to be much smaller. So I'm wondering if the second photo is the latest photo of the suspect before death. I will read you the said information. Utah authorities say they have identified a suspect in the murder of a couple camping out in Moab, a fast food worker who confided in someone that he had killed 2 women, but cops say there's no chance that Adam Pinkushevich will be brought to justice after the double homicide of Kylan Schulte and Crystal Beck. He left the state and killed himself. It's a stunning turn of events in a case that has frustrated investigators since Schulte and Beck were found shot to death in August off a scenic road that runs through a national forest. Although Adam Pinkushevich has been identified as a suspect, this is still an ongoing investigation and the case is not closed. The Grand County Sheriff said in a statement on Wednesday, newlyweds Schulte, 24, and Beck, 38, went missing last summer after telling friends where there was a weirdo camping near them in the mountains, according to Schulte's father. A desperate search for the couple led to heartache when a friend of the family, acting on a hunch, found their bodies. For months, family and friends tried to keep the spotlight on the case, hoping a break would lead to the killer. They even summoned Dwayne Dog bounty hunter Chapman to the area to investigate last weekend. And you can also go to his Twitter account to get the said information of a live interview. In its statement, the sheriff's office said that the suspect, who had worked at a local McDonald's, was identified as a person of interest early in the investigation, but he had already left Utah. Police recently received information that prior to committing suicide, he told another party that he had killed 2 women in Utah and provided specific details that were known only to investigators. The sheriff did not disclose those details or any other aspects of the investigation beyond the fact that forensic experts are now combing over the suspect's 2007 Yaris. An amateur crime sleuth that most of you know here on the network interviewed workers at the Moab McDonald's in November, and one of the employees named him as someone they suspected could be the killer. They described him as a homeless former worker who had gotten into a fight with another lesbian couple and was bad news. They said he had failed to pick up his last check after the killings. Okay. That is the sad information by the Daily Beast. Where I have a problem is they did not give a time of death. When did he kill himself? Yesterday, 2 weeks ago, August, October of 21, what? That makes no sense to say somebody killed themselves and you don't even tell us when he killed himself. Number 2, the obvious question. When the girls were sending text messages to someone that there was a creeper amongst them, wouldn't it be normal to name the creeper? If he worked with the Turner lady, then that means she would know of him. She would know his name. Wouldn't she say, hey, this guy that worked with me, used to work with me, is now camping by us? I find this strange. I find it odd, too, that what are the odds that 2 people who work with each other are out in the middle of nowhere camping, living the van life, car life? Don't you find that interesting? The 2 ladies are married, living in a camper van, whatever, and then this guy who's allegedly a homeless person, I do not know if he was homeless while working at McDonald's or homeless after, but what are the odds he's also out camping near them? Or was he camping near them? Or did he follow them there and kill them? Because this story, once again, doesn't make any sense. Because once again, as I said, if I'm going to describe to you somebody, wouldn't I tell you who the somebody is? Hey, it's Joe from work. It's Susie from around the corner. They're out here where we are. What are the odds? So even back then, with all the stuff that was going on with Mr. Laundrie, the odds of he and this young lady arguing on the same street near where one of the girls worked, that was peculiar. Naturally, they got people to talking and wondering if Mr. Laundrie was a suspect. Now we have this many months later that this guy worked with the Turner lady. He's also had some issues with homosexual women. He's deemed bad news. He's ID'd as a suspect. But the odd part of the story is that the investigation is still open. It has not been closed. And whatever he told the somebody, it's information that has direct correlation to the crime scene. So what is it that he told that person? Who is that person? Male or female? Do they live in Utah or do they live somewhere else? Do they live in the town where he ran to? How long was it when he went to where he went to? How long did he stay there before he killed himself? Where did he kill himself? Inside or outside? Did he leave a note? Did he leave a confession note? Anything of evidence behind pertaining to the deaths of the young ladies? Who else did he tell something to about the crimes? See, all this is weird to me because you don't get much information. Just, we ID the suspect. He's dead. He told somebody something that's related to the crime scene, but they don't even give you a time of death. So now people are going to wonder, well, when did he die? Did he leave a confession or a journal? Did he have something of the ladies that only friends, family can identify to say, yeah, that belonged to that lady, that lady? Very odd story. I'm not going to get into my second story which is the ultimate story. We're going to recap the timeline of Vicki and Casey White, how it came to be that she aided this man out of jail, their relationship, how long it went on, the authorities turning a blind eye in that said jail, other people who probably suspected that she was off, he's off, something going on between the two besides the inmates, how they got to Indiana, everything that unfolded. Everything. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to donate to the channel, $ Big Angie 129 Cash App. Hello, everybody in the chat. Thank you for joining me. Let's start from the beginning. Okay, as most of you know, she is not alive, Vicki White. She's no longer living. And Casey is in custody now in an Alabama prison. Let's start with the audio released of Vicki White's final moments. News Nation is the source. Thank you so much for joining me. Hello, everybody. Thank you.
And videos tonight in the case of the former Alabama corrections officer and inmate who were on the run for nearly 2 weeks before the dramatic conclusion. And we are now able to put all the pieces together with video and the just released 911 call that captures the moment Vicki White fatally shot herself.
Airbags are going on. Let's get out. Run. Let's go to the hotel.
We will provide context for that in a moment. To put all this new material together, we're about to show you. First, let's take a step back. Casey White and Vicki White knew each other since at least 2020. Inmate White was first transferred to the Lauderdale County Jail for an arraignment before being moved to a separate prison. At the time of the escape, the 38-year-old murder suspect, who's 6'9", was serving a 75-year sentence for attempted murder and burglary, was also facing the possibility of the death penalty for capital murder. Vicki White sold her home on February 24th, just a day before inmate White returned to the jail she worked at. He was coming back for an upcoming court appearance. On April 28th, the night before the escape, Vicki was seen on surveillance footage at this Alabama hotel front desk. We also know in the days leading up to the escape, she went to a Kohl's department store and purchased men's clothing and also visited an adult store. Then came the morning of April 29th. Now you can see Vicki White escorting inmate White out of the Lauderdale County Detention Center. She claimed she was taking him to the courthouse for a mental health evaluation. No appointment was scheduled. The pair left the detention center alone in her patrol car, a violation of department policy that required Casey White be escorted by 2 sworn deputies. There was also this video. The pair driving in her patrol car just before they turned into a shopping center less than a half mile from the detention center. That's where her patrol car would later be found. And the pair were gone. Authorities rushed to find answers. The Lauderdale County Sheriff confirmed on this show that, yes, the pair were romantically involved.
We do know now that there was a relationship between 2020 and 2022.
Then a clue in the case, which would send investigators an hour south of Nashville in Franklin, Tennessee. This orange Ford Edge was dumped by the pair and found by law enforcement on May 6th. Evidence of green spray paint suggests they tried to camouflage the car before ditching it. Meanwhile, authorities released these images to the public looking to crack the case. Tattoos on inmate White's body, one of them a Confederate flag. Meanwhile, we now know the pair was in Evansville, Indiana, over 200 miles away from where this all began. They got there by stealing a 2006 Ford F-150. The truck would be left at an Evansville car wash on May the 3rd. The manager of the car wash was able to flag authorities who say it was that tip, one of the close to 600 they received, that helped them crack the case.
I noticed the car hanging out of the bay, which is unusual. It kept sitting there. This is on the 3rd on Tuesday. Every time I leave, the truck's still been there. I come back, still there. Next morning, I get up at 6 o'clock to take my granddaughter to school. It's still there. I take her to school at Bossy. Get back at 7:30. The truck's still there. I walk up to the truck and I think, oh my God, this is probably this guy from Alabama.
Officers used surveillance video from the car wash to determine that they left in a Cadillac. An officer spotted the car outside a Motel 41 in Evansville. Let's pause there for a moment because that's some real good police work. Investigators determined they paid a homeless man to check them into the motel so that they could fly under the radar. Now, police surveilled the motel until the couple was spotted and a chase ensued. This is the just released dash cam footage that shows the moment police were able to capture Casey White. The fugitive surrenders before officers put him down on the hood of the police car.
Members of the U.S. Task Force basically rammed the vehicle and pushed it into a ditch. And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement. That action may have saved many of my deputies and fellow law enforcement officers' lives.
Now, inside the getaway car, they found 4 loaded handguns, an AR-15 style rifle, ammunition, in addition to camping gear and $29,000 in cash. And then that just released 911 call leading up to the moment that Vicki White shot herself.
Adams on Island. 911.
Please stop. They're going to airbag people off and kill us.
Hello?
God. Airbags are going off. Let's get out. Run. Get us back to the hotel.
Hello?
There's also this new dash cam video of police pulling out Vicki, who still had the gun in her hand after the shooting.
I'm going to go for the gun first. Okay, I'm going to go for the gun. I'm going to grab it. Let me a little bit. All right, pull me out. All right, I got it. All right. Seem safe. Hear me pull it out? Yeah. Someone pull me.
She died from her wounds. Last night, we saw Casey White escorted into the Lauderdale prison where this all began. Here's his new mugshot that was taken. Police say Casey White told officers that when he surrendered, he said to them, "Please help my wife." There's no confirmation the pair was officially married. Some raised the question of whether Casey might have killed Vicki. After all, police are investigating the 2008 of Casey's former girlfriend, which was originally ruled a suicide. But an Indiana coroner ruled that out, confirming that Vicki died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Joining me now is Evansville, Indiana Sheriff Dave Wedding. Sheriff, thanks so much for taking the time to come on the program. Really appreciate it. If you could provide a little context for us on that 911 call. I mean, did she call 911? How is that recording made?
Yeah, she must have had a cell phone in her vehicle, and during the pursuit, she called 911. Why she called them, I have no idea, but she did.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that would be a big question, right, as to why is she calling 911 for assistance from police in some way, shape, or form, which again led some people to question, did she feel she was in danger? But you feel pretty confident based on the coroner's report that this was a self-inflicted wound?
I do. There were multiple weapons inside the vehicle. She had a weapon still in her hand when the officers approached the vehicle, and that was probably the weapon she used to inflict her life-ending gunshot wound.
Anything more you can tell us about what Casey White said upon being caught?
You know, he rambled on for hours with not only our investigators, but the FBI investigators. What we know is that He said that they were tired when they traveled. I guess being on the run, they thought they would settle in here for a while, kind of regroup, figure out where they should head. Once they got into the hotel, they ordered like pizza and things that could be delivered to the hotel room, and they really just settled in and didn't go out much.
Now, it was the team of officials out there who were conducting surveillance on that motel who were able to finally crack this. Where were they walking in? Were they walking out when they first spotted them, and that led to the chase?
Well, once again, we had a large group of officers at the Vanderbilt County Sheriff's Office doing work, going through tapes and videos to try to get leads. When they went to the hotel, they just set up at various spots, keep an eye on the hotel, and then they observed both subjects go to their vehicle, get into it, and drive off. And that's when the pursuit began.
So they were coming out of their hotel room, correct?
That's correct.
And, look, I think this is not something that's been talked about enough, is that there was some real good police work here. I mean, the fact that you guys were conducting surveillance on the motel, that you were able to identify, it wasn't a tip, it was one of either your deputies or someone else in law enforcement who first identified the vehicle, correct?
That's correct. It was a member of the Evansville Police Department doing his due diligence, checking hotel parking lots, that recognized the vehicle that appeared to be the suspect vehicle, contacted our agency, and that's when we went to investigate.
Yeah, this is one of these things, Sheriff Wedding, where I feel like sometimes law enforcement doesn't get the credit that is deserved here. This was some excellent work on the part of all of the law enforcement officials out there in Indiana who were involved. Of course, the tip from the citizen at the car wash was incredibly important as well, but just such a big relief as we went through this whole account of exactly how this happened. It's just a reminder of how important it was that they were caught. Sheriff, thanks very much for taking the time to come on the program.
I'm going to rewind back because there's something I want to hear about the date of the house being sold. I want to make sure it wasn't February, because then that's going to raise my eyebrow for just a second. So hold on one second. I'm going to go back in and see if I can find where they mention about the sale of the house. Thank you for joining me.
The detention center. That's where her patrol car would later be found. And the pair were gone. Authorities rushed to find answers. The Lauderdale County Sheriff confirmed on this show that yes, the pair were romantically involved.
We do know now that there was a relationship between 2020 and 2022.
Then a clue in the case, which would send investigators an hour south of Nashville.
Let me go back a little way.
Before the escape, Vicki. At the time of the escape, the 38-year-old murder suspect, who's 6'9", was serving a 75-year sentence for attempted murder and burglary, was also facing the possibility of the death penalty for capital murder. Vicki White sold her home on February 24th, just a day before inmate White returned to the jail she worked at.
So February 24th, she sold her house. So it's very pivotal, that information, because it seems like to me, everything I've been hearing is so different. Everything from this sheriff, that sheriff, articles, everything is so different. I don't really know what is the truth pertaining to anything as far as the cars, tags, gun in her hand, gun in the seat. Now we hear the house was sold February 24th. So let's go back. It is now May. He came to the jail a day before she sold her house. So that means they really had this plan months before, or as they said, even longer. February 24th is nowhere near April, May. This mess jumped off April 29th. House sold a month before, 2 months before that, April, March, February. That's 2 months. So that means she knew he was coming to the jail, Lauderdale jail. Stay woke. She had to have known he was coming. She sells her house. This is where I'm confused. In the interview with the mother, Miss Pat, she said that the daughter had been living with her for 5 weeks. Well, if you can count 5 weeks back from April 29th would be March. And another week before that would give you 5 weeks. So basically the middle of March. It's 5 weeks. So where I'm confused is, where was she staying from February 24th up until when? Because the mother said she lived with me for 5 weeks. As I said, 5 weeks back from April 29th would be March, middle of March. Somewhere in there. So where was she living? This is very weird to me. The issue with the gun. 1 minute the gun is in the seat. Then the next minute the gun is in her hand. But we also knew and heard, I'll just say heard, that she was pinned in and allegedly on the passenger seat. I do believe I saw a photograph today where there was blood splatter up near, which would be the passenger side going up to the, which would be the roof of the car. That's the passenger side. So possibly, as they said, she was on the passenger side. When you look at the car, the way the car is situated from the back of the car was tipped over, which would have been to the right side in the ditch. So if she's on the passenger side, she's the one pinned in, facing the ditch, closest to the road. But all this is crazy. Yes, escrow, yes, possibly. Maybe she still got to stay in the house. I don't know. All I'm going by is just what's being said. That's why I said with a story, when you leave stuff open, people will speculate. Because if you don't fill in the blanks, then people don't know exactly what is the truth. I ask these questions because nobody's told an accurate portrayal of the Ford Edge, the F-150, or the Cadillac. You still haven't told us where the Cadillac came from. I've just brought 2 commentaries that dispute the F-150 story. In this story with Abrams, he says the F-150 was stolen. But then in another commentary, it says the F-150 was bought for $6,000. I will be playing that content. So, she was driving, she wasn't driving. Sale of a car, stolen car. Which is it? Was the F-150 stolen or not? Or was it bought? Was the Ford Edge stolen or not? Was the Cadillac stolen or not? When you watch the video in the car wash, it looks like there is plastic over the driver's window, which led me to think that perhaps they broke out the window, which will lead me to think they did steal the F-150. Because why would there be plastic on it? But then that's risque too, to drive around with a window down, even though the weather is warm. But you're going to Indiana, you're going north, so the weather is iffy once you go north on a highway. And you're going to a northern demographic. It could rain. You're going to ride down the road with a broke out window. Yes, all the details are different. That's why I rarely respond to any comments in the chat pertaining to this story, because it's a waste of my time to respond, because there's too many different versions. And all this started with the Sheriff Singleton in Alabama. He was giving out information that was not confirmed or yet accurate. Yet confirmed or accurate. Then somebody had to go in behind and straighten out something he said, which was the start of who was driving the car. 1 minute she's driving, next minute Casey's driving it. I do believe she was the passenger. I do believe I saw blood splatter at the roof of the car going up the driver's side, the passenger side, which would be where somebody would have shot themselves. And the fact that she was laying down, pinned into the ditch while they couldn't get her out, that would make sense why there would be blood on the passenger side ceiling. You'd have to be on that side to kill yourself. Because how would blood get way over there? I did notice that in the video. That's why I try to watch everything, replay, because a lot of the stuff has been muffled. This is probably the clearest I can actually hear her speaking. Let's talk about what she's saying in the audio, because people are disputing that, but you can't really dispute it because you're not Vicki. You're not Vicki. You're not Casey. You don't know what they were going through mentally, so you're arguing with yourself to try to figure out why she said this. She called the police. Who the hell knows why? Was he speeding? It scared her? Possibly so. Because in her mind, she probably wasn't even thinking she was going to go on a high-speed chase. She got guns in the car, which makes people think, yeah, she's a ride-or-die chick. He's a violent guy. You have every right to think that. But in the end, he never shot at the police. Why not? You see, your mouth can say one thing, but your actions say something else. All this heavy artillery, which now this sheriff says was inside of the car, but yet nobody shot out, because that's the thing about perception. I can think it in my head. I'm going to get a gun, a rifle, this. But when the time comes, will I use it? Will I use it? So as you see, all these guns, but yet nobody used them to shoot at the police. Only the suspect shot herself. Don't you find that interesting? He could have easily told her, get the gun, rifle, shoot out the window. But maybe that wasn't really in her. They may have concocted all this stuff in their head, how it's going to play out, what we need to do to stay safe. But in the end, they did not shoot at the police. So to me, it doesn't matter that he told the police, I'm going to shoot at you. This sheriff is repeating it like he sounds like something out of a damn movie. Oh, they were going to have a shootout. Their intention was to shoot out. Well, if she wanted to shoot you, she could have. She had a gun. The fact that she's telling you she wants to go back to the hotel, she's telling Casey that because she was scared. It's obvious she was scared because allegedly she's a ride-or-die chick, but she's worried about the airbags because as they're ramming the truck, the airbags, I guess, deployed because that truck is way bigger than a Cadillac. And I'm sure that's what made the airbags go off, and it scared her. He's probably scared. He's speeding, going fast. She doesn't know how this car is going to end up. And you saw how it ended up. Turned over. Because she wasn't anticipating a chase or a shootout. I think that's obvious. And in that moment, she wanted it to stop. She's telling him, I thought I heard her say stop, but he's steady speeding. Let's go back to the hotel. This is where it shows you that Vicki White was delusional. That she had concocted this story in her head about Casey White, caring for him, liking him, thinking he's this, that, whatever she thought. I don't know because she's dead. I don't know her. But she concocted this fairy tale in her head about this man. She concocted this fairy tale to go run away with him. But what she did not anticipate was being apprehended and those trucks ramming into the car. The truck ramming. I'm sure it scared her. So she's calling either by phone, OnStar, I don't know. Doesn't even matter to me at this point because you can't get a definitive answer pertaining to any of this. So I'm at the point where I don't even want to really go into the details anymore because it's pointless. But I'm talking about the audio since it was played in this commentary. Obviously, she was scared because she hadn't anticipated this to happen. When she says, let's go back to the hotel, that shows she is not right in her head. You are now being chased down the street. Your boyfriend is gunning it. He is not stopping. You are now scared. You want out of there. You want this to stop. Hey, let's go back to the hotel. This shows you she wasn't in her right mind to realize, go back where? Stop where? Get out and run where? You're risking being shot to get out of the car because in order for you to run, they're going to say, hey, stop running. They're going to kill you. You can see that she was not well equipped. To tell you the truth, in the short words in this audio, I do believe that Vicki White was just as mentally slow as Casey White. I'm sorry. Because her demeanor was really of a child. Hey, get me out of here. No, let's go back over here. And it's like, but you put yourself in this situation. You put yourself in this situation when you broke him out of that jail, walked him out. You planned this for however long. You bought all this artillery. You put yourself in this situation. And now you want the car to stop. Now you want to go back to the hotel. Now you want to run. Which is it? You weren't going to be able to run. You weren't going to be able to stop the car. You weren't going to be able to turn around and go back to the hotel. Yeah, she did sound sad. She did sound sad. But the point of the story is you put yourself in this situation. Why would you put yourself in this situation? That is the part I don't understand. What in God's name was she thinking? Because in this very moment, you can sense that she was scared. So the same part of your brain is saying, well, damn, lady, why did you do this? Did you not think it could go like this? Did you not think that somebody would storm the room where you at? Or run up on the car in the drive-thru at a restaurant, anywhere? Why did you not think of the worst case scenario? And that's why I can see she was never a happy person. She wasn't content. She was looking for something. She found it in this guy, whatever it was. But it wasn't real. Because in the end, she kills herself because she didn't want to face the music. And he's now in custody, facing multiple charges, new escape charges, going to trial for murder of Connie Ridgway, plus serving a 75-year sentence for a crime spree in 2015. How in the world did these beings come to be, cross paths to end up where they are now, which is doomed? One's dead and one could possibly face the death penalty for a murder of a woman. 6 degrees of separation. And those people met up in the state of Alabama in a jail. And 2 years later, she aids him out of that jail to her own death and to him to end up right back where he started from, where he's complained of being shanked, not getting enough food. He's right back there. Don't you find that ironic? It's sad. Despite what you think of her, she was a sad being. And when I look at Casey, he doesn't seem like this big bad wolf that he's been made out to be. But we know that's also an illusion too, because he has broken the law by shooting, kidnapping, killing a dog, allegedly killing this woman, now linked to another suicide perhaps. He's just a bad guy. But when you see him walking, you don't see him mumbling, grunting, cussing, fussing, trying to come out of handcuffs. He's just idly going by. And perhaps he's the type of person that's crunk only on drugs. The drugs fuel his desire to get the drugs, so he does anything to get the drugs. But the flip side is nobody's going to care about that because you're hurting and harming innocent people. So we can't just give you a pass to say, well, he's a drug addict. That's why he robbed them, killed the dog, held people hostage, shot this lady, cut her throat. That's vicious. To cut somebody's throat and beat him with a hammer. Was it robbery with Miss Connie? I do not know, because I don't even have all the details to what happened. Did he know her? Were they neighbors? Were they friends? Were they dating? Were they interested in each other? Things went awry. Break in, let him in, what? We don't know. Can't find anything to tell you nothing about what's going on with that story. But the weird part of this story is different walks of life, backgrounds, meet up in a jail, and everything goes haywire. What led this woman to do this here? Why? What was so bad about your life that you would forfeit your life, your freedom, your integrity, your conscious mind, your reputation for an inmate? What was so bad about your life? And he's also, yes, a sad case because he doesn't have to live the way he's living. He doesn't have to go out here kidnapping, killing people. But he's also an addict. And we also know that people will do anything to get the drug. So they will commit crimes to get the drug. They met in the jail, Kinsley. They just told you that. They met in the jail. How else would they meet? He stayed locked up. He stayed locked up. And perhaps he wanted to be near her to have her aid him out. I don't know if he said it to her first. She said it to him first. But I believe that was the intricate plan. I'll make my way back up there. So then one could flip that and say, well, did he really kill that lady? Did he only confess because he knew that Vicki works at the jail in that jurisdiction? I'll say I killed that lady so I can get up there where Vicki is. What is the truth? We have to wait to see what he's going to say. Thank you for joining me. This is Everyday Shenanigans. I'm now going with the second commentary pertaining to, oh, Lordy, this crazy story. News Nation was the information pertaining to the 911 audio. We're going to talk about the mindset of Vicki White. News Nation is the source. Thank you so much for joining me.
About the manhunt that gripped the nation for 11 days. Investigators are still working to piece together the connection between Casey White and Vicki White, including why the former corrections officer threw it all away to help Casey White escape. It's a question Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton says we will never get answers to. Joining us now to explain a few of the possibilities about how this happened is clinical psychologist Dr. John Duffy. Good morning. Thanks for being here.
Good morning, Rutabaga. Thanks for having me.
So what did you make of this? I mean, when you heard about her throwing away this life, she had accolades, she had awards, she was well liked, she was known to be a compassionate person, and she threw it all away, and now she's dead.
Right. And from a psychologist's point of view, I always look beneath the surface and think like, well, there must have been some kind of susceptibility, some kind of vulnerability in her life that made her prone to his kind of manipulation. And that's what I suspect happened. That's what typically happens in cases like this, is that somebody with a sociopathic tendency is able to make a victim of somebody over time. And I think it's been over the course of a couple of years, and really take advantage of them, convince them we have this special thing, we have this special friendship. And if we could just get out of here together, then we could create some kind of life together. And I'm not sure exactly how that went, but I suspect that's roughly the framework.
So you don't look at the story and say she was the mastermind, she was in control, she had the key to the prison, she could have, she was responsible for helping him escape. You look at it more like, she was this vulnerable person. She had just nursed her dying ex-husband as he passed away. She might have been in a lonely, vulnerable spot and been taken advantage of by him.
Right. And certainly she executed a lot of what he benefited from, right? So there was some masterminding going on. Certainly there was some plotting and some executing going on. But I think it was under the guise of being manipulated all the way through, because she's the only person, if you think about it, who had everything he needed to achieve his goals. Not necessarily hers. You're right. She had a lot going for her, but to achieve his. And so I think he convinced her that his goals were her goals.
And when you look at him, right, you're looking at both of them. What do you make of him? You think he's a sociopath?
It's hard for me to imagine that he's not, in that he is, I'm guessing, very manipulative. I can't imagine the circumstance, given the facts, where that's not the case. At the very least, he's a very manipulative guy, but I suspect sociopathy creeps in there, especially when you convince yourself that you can do something that people hardly are ever able to actually achieve.
Right. It takes a certain amount of confidence to even try, to even plot to carry this out. I know when he was arrested, he identified her as his wife. What do you think went into this kind of grooming over the years?
Well, I think there's a certain cleverness and manipulation affiliated with that. There is kind of a misnomer out there that somebody who has made enough mistakes to get himself imprisoned for life is not intelligent. But I suspect that this man had just enough intelligence, even though he doesn't come across, a lot of people say, as particularly bright. You don't need to have a great deal of just IQ points in order to manipulate another person to help you achieve your goals, especially if you're desperate to have those goals achieved.
And the fact that both of them carried this out, they plotted this, and no one really seemed to know. It happened under everyone's noses. I mean, what does that tell you?
It tells me that he likely, but maybe the two of them together over time, were able to create a culture of two. And when your culture is that small, you're able to make really bad decisions and convince yourself this can work. We can make this happen, without consulting anybody else.
Us against the world.
Exactly.
All right, Dr. John Duffy, it's really interesting to look at this part of the story. Thank you. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much for watching.
All right, everybody. That's my second source, News Nation. As I said, the two were evenly yoked. In the end, you're not going to know who said what to whom in the beginning. In 2020, when he first went to the said jail in 2020, that is how the two allegedly met. He was first there on an arraignment for the murder of Connie Ridgway. He came back this February 2022, and then the plan was executed to aid him out of the jail by Vicki White. Thank you for joining me. Now I'll play you my third source. As most of you know, he's back in the prison. Facing a lot of charges. Let's talk about the $29,000 that was found. Naturally, this sheriff said he took a picture and counted the money. But in the end, we do not know if any money was taken by any law officials. Not that I'm here to accuse anybody, but something's off. Thank you all for the stickers. Something is off because you all can't seem to make up your mind if some of the cars were stolen or bought. And even if the 3 cars were bought at $6,000, $7,000, $10,000 a piece, you still can count. We're talking about roughly under $30,000. When you subtract that, that leaves you with about $60,000. Couple of hundred for the room, food, and gas. That's it. That's not even probably $1,000. Okay? Plus she bought clothes. But as I said, you do not know what she had in checking and savings of her own money. 2, monies left to her by the dead husband because he was living in the house. 3, if she had an insurance policy on the dead husband. 4, if he left her as a beneficiary of a life insurance policy. 5, any valuables she sold after selling her house, such as furniture, jewelry. Stay woke. When you count all those things I just named, that isn't even the $90,000 itself from the sale of the house. So where is the remaining money? The sheriff from Indiana, to me, was very abrupt, rude to me. That's my opinion. Doesn't matter if you like Casey, Vicki, you don't consider her law enforcement family. Of course you wouldn't, because she's aided a criminal. But there's still a way of talking to the press and the news. And if you're going to be short, rude, why even give the interview? Let somebody else speak. You had access to the money, you and your comrades, because we're going to say the marshals were there to apprehend the suspects. Well, they got them. So you were the last to have the money because you just said, I took a picture. We took a picture. So that means you had access to the money in order to take a picture of the money and also the weapons. Your commentary about what was left in the hotel, nothing of significance. A reporter asked about were there drugs. You said nothing of significance. What does that mean, sir? What does that mean? Nothing of significance as far as drugs, and nothing of significance left behind in the hotel. Well, they left clothes. So one would say, you can't say that they were getting ready to go on the run again if they left clothes. Don't they need their clothes? They're trying to stay under the radar, which means allegedly not be going in and out of businesses to be seen, which that's what got them caught. Him being seen on the car wash camera and her dumb self driving up in the third getaway car in the Cadillac, which we don't have confirmation to where the hell that car came from. So they were out publicly, somewhere. That's obvious. That's how they got caught. But to say they were getting ready to leave, how would you know they were getting ready to leave? Because they came out of the hotel room? Maybe they needed something. I don't know. Is it because everything was packed in the car? Well, everything could have been packed in the car because you all said they left behind clothes. So which is it? But you can't say unless Casey told you, because you only have one suspect left to give the 411 of that week. So did Casey tell the authorities, yeah, we were packing up. We went and got in the car on that day. We left a few things behind that we really didn't want or need. We were heading out on that day. That is the only way I'm going to believe that's the true version. Is if Casey said we were on our way out of Indiana or Evansville. What has he told them? Has he told them the exact amount of money they spent? How much money they had total? Will her mom get the money back? Will her mom claim the money? How long will they keep it for evidentiary material for court? And is there more money out there that was in the possession before the chase and it's now missing? And somebody with some sticky fingers stole the money. We're going to address it because it's even on the news and it's common sense. 60,000 plus left, plus, like I said, whatever else she had in selling valuables, furniture, life insurance policies, savings and checkings. And if she's frugal as they claimed, you know damn well she had money in checkings and savings, plus the dead man's money in estate as well. Because we have not heard of any friends, family coming to get any type of monies, life insurance policies from the dead man. And by now, they will be talking. Was money taken from the persons of Vicki White and Casey White? News Nation is the source. Thank you so much for joining me.
There's got to be some more money somewhere, possibly. So let's hope that they can find it. Sheriff Singleton, thank you. Days ago, he broke out of the jail there with the help of his girlfriend guard. They led police on an 11-day manhunt that ended in her death. Vicki White's colleagues at that jail are all aware that Casey is about to arrive back in Lauderdale County. They've made some special arrangements to keep him in custody while he's arraigned at the nearby county courthouse, too, before being loaded right back into the police transport and chauffeured to the state penitentiary. That's where he's going to spend his first night, back in the place where he will likely spend thousands more. He won't be in any regular cells on this journey, and he sure won't be as comfortable as he was before he convinced his guard and girlfriend, Vicki White, to help break out of that Lauderdale County facility. We have live cameras waiting to see when the sheriff's motorcade is going to pull up to transfer the prisoner to the courthouse, and we're going to bring it to you the minute that he does show up. But that mad dash that Casey and Vicki made across 3 states involved multiple getaway cars and at least one motel. The pair broke out of the Lauderdale County Jail 12 days ago before going on a Bonnie and Clyde-styled run that ended in a police pursuit and the death of that jail guard, Vicki White. Casey White waived extradition and is again right now, as I said, en route from Indiana and expected to arrive momentarily at the Alabama jail, which is great because I'm joined right now by the guy who runs that place, Sheriff Rick Singleton of Lauderdale County, Alabama, man in charge of the jail. All right, so Sheriff, there's so many questions I have because so many jurisdictions were involved in this whole odyssey. I was just talking to the sheriff of Evansville, asking him about that hotel room. He said there was evidence left behind in the hotel room. He said it wasn't of significant evidentiary value, but you're the guys who are going to be doing some prosecuting. Are you in receipt of that evidence, and do you know what was left behind?
Our investigators have spent the day in Evansville, and they did retrieve what evidence was there, and are on their way back to Alabama with that evidence. I'm not sure. I have not, of course, gotten an item out of the list of what evidence was retrieved. I do understand it's about $30,000 in cash, the weapons, and some other items.
And some camping gear in the car, and apparently some extra clothing, etc., from the hotel room. But when you do get that list, I'm going to check back with you on it. What charges is Casey White about to answer to in the next few minutes when he pulls up there and is, paraded in front of, I'm assuming, a magistrate to be arraigned tonight?
Actually, in front of a circuit judge. The charge tonight that he's been arraigned on is escape. That's obviously from the events of April the 29th. He will have an opportunity to meet with his attorneys prior to that hearing, and then the hearing will be conducted, and he will be loaded up and transported to the Department of Corrections.
Something new I learned tonight, Sheriff, was that a coworker of Vicki's at the jail was enlisted in this whole terrible plan to pick her up at the place where she dropped that original orange Ford. She dropped the car and called the coworker to give her a ride back to the jail. And of course, she eventually, took the cruiser, and the two of them escaped in the cruiser and picked up the Ford, the orange Ford, at that drop site. That coworker must be very, very upset at the notion that Vicki, drew them into this.
She's one of her closest friends, but your information is a little incorrect. Vicki White contacted her and told her she had locked her keys in the car and needed a ride. And actually, she carried her to Rogersville, which is a small town in eastern Lauderdale County where her personal vehicle was at.
Well, good to know, though, that there is that clarity that Vicki said she locked her keys in her car and thus needed the help of that coworker. None of this, my assumption, is true because the car was planted there for a purpose, for her getaway. You spoke with Vicki's mother today. Can you tell me a little bit about that and whether Vicki's mother will be at least receiving the $30,000 that's been retrieved from Vicki and Casey's rollover crash?
I spoke to her mother. Her mother has been extremely distraught over the last several days, very stressed out. Obviously, very upset that her daughter, first of all, pulled a stunt like this, and now that she has lost her daughter, I called to express our condolences and to offer any assistance we could be to her and her family. They're good people, and they are just as shocked as the rest of us that her daughter would do something like this.
Will she get that money, Sheriff? I know it's evidence, but eventually the money has to be returned to someone. Well, she sounds like the only next of kin.
To my knowledge, she is the next of kin, and absolutely, I don't know if the money will have to be held for evidence. That'll be up to the district attorney's office, but it will eventually be released, and I would assume that she would be the next of kin.
Yeah, well, and let's hope that maybe there is more money to be found, because out of $90,000, you can't spend that much on a couple of cars in a motel and some snack food, for 11 days. So there's got to be some more money somewhere, possibly. So let's hope that they can find it. Sheriff Singleton, thank you. I know you're busy tonight, and I know you got to get down there because you're awaiting the arrival of that, much ballyhooed inmate. So we'll check in with you just to see how smooth everything goes tonight when that arraignment happens in the next few minutes. Thank you for taking the time to talk to us. Thank you for watching. Click.
All right, that's Miss Banfield giving it up. 29,000 found in the car with weapons. Let's chop it up. Where's the money? I'm glad that News Nation did this because you're not supposed to sugarcoat anything. You're supposed to ask all viable questions in the crime. Everything pertaining to these people, what they look like, what they were wearing, who they talked to. Where is the money? Because if you hide the money, you've got to hope that you'll be able to get back to get the money. You're on the run, so you have no reason to hide the money. Come on, let's be truthful and realistic. I'm not going to hide money and I'm on the run. For what reason? The only time you hide money is if you're talking about like a real big lump sum of money, like in the millions or something like that. But you're on the run. You don't know how you're going to get to point A to point B. You don't know if you're going to even get back to point A to get the money, pick up the money. Can't pick up the money if you're locked up. Then if you're locked up, it won't do no good because depending on what your charges are, when you won't get a bond. His situation, you already know he's not getting a bond. She probably could get a bond, but it would have been a high bond. Excuse me. Excuse me. So, where is the rest of the money? And you really don't know that she had $90,000. I'm going to keep saying that. You only know that she sold her house. Hell, she sold the house in February. We now know that. That's months before they went on the run. Way longer than 5 weeks in her mom's house. But as someone said, maybe, escrow, blah, blah, blah. She was still living in the house. I don't know. But at some point, she was living with her mother. The mother said 5 weeks. Where is the rest of the money? How much actual money did she take on the road with she and Casey White? Did she leave her mom some money? Did she tell her mom her plans? Don't tell nobody I love you. I love this man. I want to be with him. Don't tell nobody, mama. Did she leave her mama some money? A friend money. The friend who picked her up. I'm confused about that storyline as well. The friend takes her to this Rogersville place to allegedly get her car or something about keys locked in the car. Is this perhaps where she actually lived? Rogersville, Alabama. Because then you have to ask, I take you to your car. Your keys are locked in your car. So what happened? You told her, well, I'm running late. Come pick me up. I'm trying to put this story together. This part of the story. So what? The friend picked her up, brought her to the jail. Did she just use that as a ruse because she knew that she was going to take the patrol car to where the Ford Edge was located or nearby? Let's make it make sense. Because remember, I asked you all this the past couple days. Where is her own car? Because they've never mentioned her own car. Thank you, honey. Thank you for the compliment, sweetheart. They never said, hey, this is where her car is. Don't you find that strange? All this jumping around in cars, clown cars. Somebody's related to somebody from damn Rogersville, Tennessee. Shut up, Angela. Car hopping, car hopping. Hell, I wish I had the money to car hop the way these people are car hopping. All this swapping of cars. Nobody ever asked, hey, where's her original car? Hell, did she sell her car or no? Did the person even see her car when they pulled up? Just curious. Was her car actually there when the person picked her up? So the person picked her up and then what? See, I'm confused because she was in a hotel the day before. Allegedly, she didn't go home. So where's the hotel? See, now my head is starting to hurt. You're showing her pacing back and forth. That also shows me she was antsy. She was anticipating her day to take this man on the run, looking over the counter, looking for the attendant. So she left out of that hotel. What happened? She left out of the hotel, drove her own car back where? To her house. And then called the friend to say, oops, I've locked my keys inside of my car. Is that what we're talking about? Let's just analyze the whole situation. Stay in a hotel the night before the heist. Get up, check out of the hotel, call her friend to say she's locked herself in. Can you come pick me up and take me to work? The friend shows up. She tells her, oh, I'll worry about it later to get a locksmith to open it. I got to get to work. Don't want to be late. So what time did she call the friend? Was she late showing up for work? That's another question. Because all this had to be rush that morning. Very interesting information. And yes, how does the friend feel now knowing she was duped by her so-called friend? The sheriff says she's a very good friend. So also, is this very good friend a law official or just a regular civilian? Who is she? Yes, well, that's common sense. She needed to have a way to get from the patrol car to the other car. That's another piece of the puzzle we don't have any information to either. So we got all these cars involved. Her own car, a friend picking her up, that's car number 2. The squad car, car number 3. The Ford Edge, car number 4. And with all of this, not one news agent has talked about any of this except for News Nation about the friend picking her up. Nobody ever asked to say, well, damn it, where was her car on this morning? See, nobody asks pertinent questions. You're trying to figure out how these two met. They already told you he came to the jail in 2020. That should be common sense. That's how they met. He's an inmate. She's a jailer. Do the math. They switched numbers, talked. Probably wrote letters. Probably used an alias writing the letters. It's a jacked up situation. Her car possibly was at her house. I don't know. I don't know where. I don't know. They said she went to another town to get her personal car. That's all he said. They went to Rogersville to get her personal car. Her personal car had the keys locked in it at this town, allegedly. The friend went, obviously, there to that location, Rogersville, to then pick her up. So that's the thing. Did she pick her up at her house? Is her house in this Rogersville town? Very crazy. Sorry about the noise. These people are working on the house. So just too many discrepancies in this story and too many open-ended parts of the story that nobody ever thought to ask. And I found that interesting that nobody ever asked where was her car when all this was going on. Of course, some may not feel like it was important, but you had to know she had to get from one place to the other. So you knew she had to get to the job. So would she have left her car at work? Parked her car at work? That would be the assumption. Or somebody may have thought she drove the squad car home. But I wouldn't see them letting them do that because they're just detention workers. They're not police officers. Very interesting. Woo! Next set of information. We're still wondering where's the money. Very, very strange. Sorry for the banging, Lord have mercy. This noise is getting to me.
A late-night arraignment in Lauderdale County. Accused murderer and escapee Casey White arriving just about 8 minutes ago. Good evening, I'm Sherry Falk.
I'm Guy Rawlings. New video just released by the Vandenberg County Sheriff's Office shows the moment Casey and Vicki were captured and arrested yesterday afternoon.
I'm gonna go for the gun first. Okay, I'm gonna go for the gun. Right.
We'll show you more of this video just into the newsroom, including Casey White's arrest, in just a moment.
But first, we want to get out to Chip Scarborough. He's in Lauderdale County tonight, where Casey White is now in court for an arraignment. Chip?
Well, what an evening it has been here in Lauderdale County in North Alabama. We were first told that Casey White would arrive here at the courthouse about 10:15. He actually showed up about 9:50. Law enforcement escorted him out of the car right into that open doorway you see right over there. We want to pull up some video now. And, you know, this has been about an 11-day saga. He escaped from the Lauderdale County Detention Facility back on April the 29th and was captured yesterday in Indiana and brought back here just a few hours ago. Gotten out of the car, gone up into the courtroom for his arraignment, his first court appearance here in Lauderdale County in Alabama. We will wait to find out more about what happens with that and bring that to you. But back out here live, we can tell you that this has been a very, very busy place tonight. Media from all across the country here covering this. Of course, there's just been widespread interest. WVTM 13 has been here throughout this, and we will keep you updated all the way to the end. For now, live in Lauderdale County in North Alabama, Chip Scarborough, WVTM 13.
Chip, thanks. Now back to that new video of the white
Okay, hold on.
car seconds after she allegedly shot herself in the head.
When law enforcement approached the car, she still had the gun in her hand. They safely took the gun away, then pulled her out of the car.
At the time, she was still breathing. She later died at the hospital.
As you can see there, Casey was dragged out of the vehicle. Investigators say law enforcement literally smashed their getaway car into a ditch. You can see it there. Casey is then brought over in handcuffs and sat on the ground in front of that patrol car.
All of this happened because an officer noticed the suspect's vehicle at a hotel while he was patrolling. Law enforcement set up surveillance. When Vicki and Casey White left, the chase was on.
In pursuit. The suspects from Alabama.
Law enforcement didn't know it at the time, but they were extremely lucky the suspects were pushed into a ditch. Had that not happened, the Vanderburgh County Sheriff says the Whites planned a shootout with law enforcement.
Sometimes people may call that unnecessary action, but that action may have saved many of my deputies and fellow law enforcement officers' lives. I want to bring my people home, and I don't care about the fugitives' lives if it protects my people's lives.
Inside the car, thousands of dollars in cash and several guns. The two had been staying at a hotel in Evansville for a week. At this hour, the motive for Vicki White is still unclear.
Casey White has a checkered criminal history. At the time of his escape, he was serving 75 years for attempted murder and robbery. He was also awaiting trial for 2 counts of capital murder. The Lauderdale County Sheriff vowing Casey will never get out again.
He will stay in handcuffs and shackles while he's in that cell. If he wants to sue me for violating his civil rights, so be it. He's not getting out of this jail again.
And keep in mind, Casey still faces those capital murder charges. He was indicted in 2020.
A plea hearing is set in that case June 9th. If a deal is not reached, the trial will begin a few days later.
They don't want you to know this.
Oops, sorry about that.
These companies do this now.
All right. He has new charges too, escape charges. Let's see if we can find those. Thank you all for joining me. The beginning of this video is about the Moab murders. They've ID'd the suspect, but the investigation is still ongoing. The suspect is dead. All righty, let's see. This is the beginning of how all this came to be. This story. News Nation Now is the source.
Joining us tonight, I'm Marnie Hughes. We begin with some brand new video from the moment that nationwide manhunt for 2 fugitives ended. This is dash camera and body camera video showing the exact moment that the suspected murderer, Casey White, is handcuffed and then taken into custody after 11 days on the run with the former corrections officer he was with, who helped him get out, Vicki White. Authorities say Vicki shot herself during that chase, right at the end of it. She died last night, and we broke that news to you right here on News Nation Prime, ending any hopes of getting true answers as to the grand plan in all of this. Why did she do what she did, and how did she get away with it for as long as she did? Tonight, as Casey White is being taken from Indiana back to Florence, Alabama, new pieces of this puzzle are starting to come together about what happened last night in Evansville, Indiana, and how this capture all unfolded. I'm going to be talking to Martin Keeley with the U.S. Marshal's office in a moment. We haven't heard from him yet throughout this investigation. First, though, senior national correspondent Brian Enton is on the scene for us in Evansville. We're also going to be talking with Lauderdale County Sheriff Rick Singleton in a moment. Brian, let's start with you and what we have learned in the last few hours.
Yeah, really just within the last hour, this new body camera video came out, and it's pretty disturbing, Marnie. It's disturbing because you see Casey White being taken away from the car, and he is basically showing absolutely no emotion, despite the fact that Vicki White just shot and killed herself right next to him. It's disturbing to see. Meanwhile, today we're also learning more about what Vicki and Casey were doing in Evansville, and we're learning more about their stay at this motel behind me. Dashcam video shows the moment police storm Vicki and Casey White's car. You see officers cuff White and lay him down on the hood of the patrol car. Then they put him down on the ground. Today we also got our first look at what was inside the getaway car. $29,000 in cash and an AR-15, 4 handguns, a taser, and multiple rounds of ammo. The Vanderburgh, Indiana County Sheriff says it all would have ended much, much worse if they hadn't done the pit maneuver and stopped the couple.
And we later found out, had they not done that, the fugitive was going to engage in a shootout with law enforcement.
The sheriff says Vicki White was shot and killed. He says all indications are she took her own life, but he can't say for sure until the coroner finishes his investigation. This is what dispatchers were saying on the radio.
We could hear her on the line saying she had her finger on the trigger. Shot victim. Female is still armed.
Detectives say the couple was staying at this motel just across the street from the sheriff's office. They wore wigs when they were coming in and out. The manager says he never saw them, and it was a local person who rented the room.
And they did not even use fake ID or nothing. Somebody else checked in officially, and then they were visiting them, technically.
New video also coming from the car wash where Vicki and Casey were first spotted in Evansville. And you can see Casey standing behind the truck door. The manager of the car wash, James Stinson, believes he was grabbing a gun. Later in the video, you see Vicki pull up in his Cadillac and pick Casey up before they abandon the truck. Law enforcement relieved it's all finally over.
We've got the case solved. We've got a person deceased, and we have another person in custody headed back to Alabama. That's my concern.
And you heard the hotel manager talk about how it was not Vicki or Casey that paid for their room. That was certainly mind-boggling. We followed up on that with the sheriff here in Evansville. He says it was a homeless person that Vicki and Casey paid to go in and make the payment for their room. That way they could avoid being on the surveillance cameras. Marnie?
Brian, I know that there are moments in that video that we chose not to show because it is too graphic. We know that Vicki, as they say, shot herself. But can you share with people at home a little bit more about what you did see in that video? And I'm curious, Casey White, as they take him over to the car, they kind of put him down on the hood of the car. They're arresting him. He's talking. Do we have any idea what he was saying?
So a lot of the video, there's no audio, so we don't know what they're saying. One thing that stood out to me is just how big and tall Casey White is. He is a very large man. We've been saying all week long that he's almost 7 feet tall, but when you see him in the video and how much bigger he is than those two deputies, I almost would have expected like a swarm of deputies around this guy, but it was just these two deputies with this enormous man. You mentioned the part of the video that we didn't want to use. There is video of them going into the car. Vicki White appears to be lifeless, and they have to sort of figure out how they're going to get the gun away from her. And one of the deputies goes in and retrieves the gun, and then they actually pull her body out of the car, which is quite disturbing to see.
Yeah, and at one point, Brian, they say she's actually holding the gun because there has been some question, how do we know if she shot herself?
Yeah, at one point they said that, and we know that they're going to do an investigation here. The coroner's doing an investigation. The sheriff here today said all the indications are that it was suicide, a self-inflicted gunshot wound, but they're going to wait to officially say that until the coroner's finished.
All right, Brian Enton, live for us in Evansville, Indiana tonight. Brian, thank you.
Getting declined for a new credit card is fun.
Sorry about that. Everybody got to get their change. All right. Continuation.
Evansville, Indiana tonight, Brian. Thank you. Joining me now is U.S. Marshal Martin Keeley. Sir, thank you for giving us some time today.
You're welcome. Happy to do it.
So tell me more about Vicki White's death. What more can you share that you've learned in the last 24 hours?
Well, we learned that she did take her own life during the pursuit just before the vehicle was pinned and overturned at the scene. We don't know a lot more about that. There was a police dispatcher who was dispatching to units. I did hear that tape that the female in the vehicle had a gun to her head and had her finger on the trigger. I think that was an alert to the law enforcement officers that were in pursuit that, again, these individuals were armed and very dangerous.
We know that Casey White also had access to a gun. How can you be sure that he did not shoot her?
Well, I can't, but I know that he made a spontaneous statement at the time of the accident when Deputy United States Marshals and task force officers were trying to take Casey into custody. And Vicki was somewhat pinned in the vehicle. It took a second to get her out. At that time, he made a spontaneous statement that he said, "Help my wife. She shot herself and I didn't do it." And again, there's not anything that would indicate to us that the two individuals were married, but he did make that statement.
Let's talk a little bit more about the chase and the crash that ensued. Who was driving the car?
It's my understanding, there's been different reports about who was actually driving the vehicle, but from my deputies on the scene, they indicated that they saw Casey enter the driver's side of the vehicle and that she entered the passenger side.
In the press conference today, there was an indication that they were prepared for a shootout with law enforcement. What more can you tell us about that?
We learned that, number one, Vicki White had been planning this escape with Casey White for an extended period of time, probably over 2 years. Certainly when someone pre-plans, purchases weapons from a law enforcement perspective, we have to believe that they're extremely dangerous and that when confronted, they might try to use force against law enforcement.
There had been some reporting that they may be in disguises as they tried to get away and escape. Have you uncovered any possible disguises that they may have had?
Well, I know that Vicki had more than one wig, and her hair was a different color at the time that she was observed by Deputy United States Marshals. As far as Casey's concerned, it's hard to disguise an individual who's 6 feet 9 inches tall. I did a little informal research early on in this case and determined that only 1% of the population in the U.S. is taller than 6 feet 4 inches. So with his height and with the tattoos, he's someone who would stand out even with a disguise and be easily recognizable. In the video from the car wash where the pickup truck was discovered, it was clear that it was Casey in that video. He had on a cap, baseball cap, sunglasses, tried to make himself appear, in my opinion, very casual, but it was clear that it was him.
The public, as you know, played a key role in this, getting their pictures out there, people calling in tips. Ultimately, it was a car wash manager, a man named James, that really played a pivotal role in ending this whole thing. A lot of people want to know if James is going to get that reward money.
I can't answer that. I can tell you this, that there are other things in this case that are not known to the general public. For example, we know that where Casey and Vicki purchased the pickup truck that was recovered from the car wash, we know that they paid $6,000 for that vehicle. We had the VIN number of that vehicle. We did a check of that VIN and determined that the police there in Evansville had checked that vehicle and that they had checked the VIN to see if it was stolen. We obtained that information, even though the vehicle was not reported stolen, and we were able to determine where that vehicle was at the time. So we went to the car wash, and there was an interview conducted with the owner. Also, he had videotape that was very important because on that videotape, we could clearly see that Casey was in that area. From that, we already had Deputy United States Marshals from
not only Alabama, but from the Great Lakes Fugitive Task Force, which is operated by the Marshal Service, along with the Gulf Coast Regional Fugitive Task Force. They were already on scene and in the area, and there was a lot of good, solid police work.
Why Indiana? Some wonder they were on the run for 11 days, but they stayed in one spot for a long time. What was it about Evansville that they chose to stay there as they did?
I don't know that it was anything about Evansville. They may have been comfortable in that area. They felt like they were safe and secure in that area. Each time they moved or bought a car, that was another piece of the puzzle for law enforcement. And it's actually from their actions that we put the puzzle pieces together that ultimately led us to Indiana.
The question remains, who was the mastermind of this escape? Was it Vicki? Was it Casey? Was it a combination of the two? What does your gut tell you?
My instinct tells me that obviously they had a plan that they'd put together, they'd worked on together, but I think that Vicki was the person who committed the overt acts, purchased weapons, purchased a vehicle, staged the first vehicle that they escaped in, that she, knew the power of the authority that she had as an assistant director in the correctional facility, and that she could move him out of that facility alone, which is highly unusual for something like that to happen. In fact, would be against any policy that I'm aware of in any correctional facility. So, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation about it, but I don't have the answer for that.
U.S. Marshal Martin Keeley, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
I never skip leg day.
All right, everybody. That's News Nation. Dashcam video shows Casey White's arrest. That's the said information in there. Hold on one second. We got a little more to go.
Now, the public and a lot of police work.
At Booking.com, find him perfect.
Well, I jumped off of there. Hold on one second. Mercy. They had a few minutes left on there. Let's see. Try to pull this back up. Hold on one second.
Was it Vicki? Was it Casey? Was it a combination of the two? What does your gut tell you?
My instinct tells me that obviously they had a plan that they'd put together, they'd worked on together, but I think that Vicki was the person who committed the overt acts, purchased weapons, purchased a vehicle, staged the first vehicle that they escaped in, that she, knew the power of the authority that she had as an assistant director in the correctional facility, and that she could move him out of that facility alone, which is highly unusual for something like that to happen. In fact, would be against any policy that I'm aware of in any correctional facility. So, I don't know. There's a lot of speculation about it, but I don't have the answer for that.
U.S. Marshal Martin Keeley, thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
All right. They're going to go to a commercial.
Okay. Helping this come to an end. Once again, Casey White set to arrive back in Alabama for his arraignment within the next several hours. A convoy of law enforcement are going to be taking him there. That is happening as we speak. I want to bring in now Lauderdale Sheriff Rick Singleton. He has been coming on Prime pretty much every day since this all started, the manhunt more than a week ago. Sheriff, we appreciate you coming back. This nightmare over, at least this part of it. You must be pretty relieved tonight.
I am. We're very relieved that Casey White is back behind bars. We said from the beginning what a dangerous person he was. I think that is proven out. The weapons they had. I think he stated to the sheriff up in Indiana what their plan was, that they had planned to go out basically in a blaze of glory. So, I'm glad that we got him, that he was gotten off the street without anyone getting hurt.
Tough news, though, to lose your friend, your colleague, even though she betrayed your trust. Vicki's death must be difficult for you.
It is, and with 107 employees, and Vicki White is the assistant director of corrections with 48 employees in that division, she knew every single one of them. And some of those correction deputies are young men and women in their early 20s that looked at her as the mother figure. So she was a coach, a mentor, a trainer, and in some cases, a mother figure.
She was family to a lot of you. Casey White's going to be back in Alabama here in the next couple of hours. The initial plan was he's going to be heading back to that corrections facility that you guys run. That plan has changed. Why?
Well, actually, that never was the plan. Early last week, we contacted the Department of Corrections and already arranged for him to be transferred immediately back to them as soon as his arraignment here was over. So that's exactly what will happen tonight. When he gets back here in Florence, there's a judge waiting, and he will go straight to court. He'll have an opportunity to meet with his attorney prior to that, and as soon as that arraignment here is over, he'll be loaded back up and then transferred directly to the Department of Corrections.
Sheriff, one thing stood out to me that the Marshal said just a moment ago. When the chase ended, Casey White referred to Vicki as his wife. To your knowledge, did these two get married at some point in the last 11 days?
Not that I know of, not that I'm aware of. Of course, I guess it's possible. But that's, when he came out of the car making that statement, that's the first I think any of us had heard of any such relationship as far as husband and wife.
Yeah, well, that's a big question out there tonight for sure. There is also the debate about who is the mastermind behind all of this. And with Vicki gone, we will never hear her side of the story. Why that is important is the charges that he may face after he broke out of prison. Do you think that she single-handedly planned all of this? Was it a combination of the two? What does your instinct tell you based on what evidence you have?
Well, I don't think necessarily she single-handedly planned it. I wouldn't doubt that he had some input. I do, like the Marshal said, she was the one that was in the position to facilitate it. And she spent several days ahead of the escape doing just that, purchasing clothes for him to change into, purchasing a car, taking other steps of liquidating assets so that they had cash, and all that was on her, whether they got together and planned that or not, but she certainly was the one in position to facilitate it.
Sheriff, you've been very gracious with your time coming on every time that we've asked to take us along as you learn new information. We'll continue to have you back if you learn anything new about the relationship these two had, anything else you uncover. Thank you again for your time and the police work and the public's help that led to this tonight.
Thank you. And we appreciate what y'all did. We appreciate our investigators, the hard work they did, and of course the Marshal's Fugitive Task Force, and the tips from the public. That's what got him off the street.
Sheriff Singleton, thank you.
All right, everybody, that's the end of that. News Nation now. Talking to the sheriff. Lord have mercy. I'm going to make sure I show everything. Casey White faces new charge back behind bars in Alabama. Uploaded 18 hours ago. News Nation is the source. Thank you all so much for joining me. Will it matter about these charges? He's already doomed, maybe facing the death penalty. Tell me what you think. Does it even matter about the escape charge? This is Everyday Shenanigans.
The manhunt that everybody is talking about. He's back behind bars where he belongs tonight, almost 2 weeks after all of this happened. So he's going to be spending the foreseeable future at the Donaldson Correction Facility in Birmingham, Alabama. He was returned to Alabama last night after being captured in Indiana. Vicki White, the corrections officer who helped him escape, of course, died as a result of a self-inflicted gunshot wound. So Casey White is facing a new charge of escape in the first degree. The focus now turns to his trial for capital murder. It is set to happen a month from now. Right after the arraignment last night, Lauderdale County District Attorney told us here at News Nation they may also pursue further charges against Casey White after they review more of the evidence. So we got to thinking, what is he going to be facing in this new facility, Donaldson in Birmingham? So we want to bring in Larry Levine tonight. He is with Wall Street Prison Consultants, the founder. Larry, good to see you. Thank you for joining us. So what do you know about this Donaldson facility, this prison in Birmingham?
It's run by the Alabama Department of Corrections. It's a higher security facility, and they're going to throw him in the hole. The special housing unit, the SHU, call it what you want. It's not going to have any contact with anybody. And you know what they say, that they're going to have to pipe sunlight into him because they're going to lock him down. But on the other hand, they're not going to keep him in there forever because the likelihood is this guy's never going to get out ever again. And he's going to achieve like folk hero status among the inmates. That he escaped, he had a cop help him escape, and he was having sex with her. And the staff, I mean, they're going to be real cautious. I imagine in the Lauderdale County Jail, they've changed a lot of their security procedures. And he's dangerous. He wanted to hold court on the highway. He never figured that he would get out alive, so he really had nothing to lose. And I honestly think that he's going to point the finger at the lady. It's not like she can defend herself. He's going to say that it was her idea. She took me out. She did this. She had a car waiting, and I'm a victim here too. See, this is a classic inmate ploy. Got into her head. He played her. Classic inmate manipulation. He told her what she wanted to hear. He told her how beautiful she was. She was lonely, and he just wanted to get laid. He didn't give a shit about her. Oh, sorry about that. The relationship was in her mind.
Cursing on the news. Wow.
That hotel. I know the mindset of criminals. They left that hotel because they were getting on each other's nerves. Imagine this. Imagine being locked in a dumpy hotel with your ex.
I'd rather not
can't go out and do anything.
Oh man,
it's crazy.
Larry,
We're driving each other nuts.
Let me get your thoughts on this, because they described the area that Casey White will be confined to as one for the behaviorally difficult to manage inmate. What does that mean? I mean,
that's the
read between the lines.
Special housing unit.
So how will the corrections officers be treating him differently? So you think he'll be a celebrity among the inmates, but how will the corrections officers be handling this giant?
They'll probably send 2 or 3 cops when they have to take him out of the cell. You know, he'll be belly chained. He'll have the leg chains. He'll have the belly chain. He'll be doing the shuffle. They're going to be real careful with this guy, but this guy knows that he's never getting out, and essentially he has nothing to lose. And, you know, I was looking at all the reports that they're going to charge him with this and charge him with that. The guy's doing 75 years already, right? For what? The home invasion, carjacking, and a police chase in 2015?
Well, and he faces the capital murder charge from the 2015 stabbing of Connie Ridgway.
You're right. You're right about that, but what difference is it going to make to run this scum through court and charge him and give him additional sentences?
Well, I mean, that's the system. I mean, it's a messy system, but it's the system, right? I mean, they still have to, he still has due process, right? He's still got to go through the system.
Well, okay. So let's stack charges on him that really mean nothing. We're going to give him another 100 years. We're going to run that concurrent. We're going to give him a big fine, but the guy doesn't have any money to pay his fine. It's very sad what happened, but this whole court process, at least in this guy's case, this is a hoax. It is.
It is sad. Larry, we appreciate you coming on tonight. Thank you.
An honest man. I was here.
Yeah. We'll have you back.
Well, you see, she cut that short. She's tired of hearing him talk. He hates new criminals. He's a consulting firm.
Died. And Connie Ridgway, who I mentioned in 2015, was stabbed to death in her own home. I interviewed her son, Austin, last week. He wanted Casey White caught. He will stand trial in her murder, which he confessed to and then has recanted his statement. So we'll be covering that because this is a guy with a really long, very dangerous, scary rap sheet.
Yeah, and also imagine now the difference of how it's going to be to hold that trial. Because he was there just in regular county jail awaiting trial. Things are going to be a little different from here on out.
At Donaldson. All right, parents, right now, thanks for watching. Click the red subscribe button.
All right, this is my last source. News Nation has been a source for most of this content. Let's chop up what was said in this Interesting clip. Let's start from the beginning. Homeless man with a debit card. Did this hotel accept cash? Because most hotels do not, just so they don't have a problem with fraud if they have somebody else working the counter besides an owner of the hotel. So did they take cash from the homeless man? Because my thing is, 1, how did you know he was homeless? 2, where is he? 3, was he walking around with a legal state ID, driver license, and debit card, credit card? If he's homeless, what is he doing with a debit card? Unless he draws Social Security and he has a card direct deposit. Stay woke. Were they actually leaving the hotel to pack up? Because they did have things left behind in the car. As I said, no shootout. Vicki shot herself. So guns, yes, that's how it appears. Well, they must have wanted trouble. They had all these guns. They bought them. But the point is, there was no shootout. The same time she took to call police, moaning, crying about the airbags, scared. Obviously, she could have been shooting out the window. She's talking about going back to the hotel. Going to say it again. Was this just a display of guns? But really, nobody had any intention on doing nothing. They're going to this town. They're tired. 4 hours or so away. Alabama really didn't do a whole lot of driving. 7, 8, 9 hours would be what you would consider tired driving. Maybe their brains were tired of trying to figure out what to do. Getting cars, switching tags. Guns were found in the car. Allegedly, what they said. Took a picture of all the guns. There also was a Tennessee tag, our older tag. Our older Tennessee tag, which is green and white, was also pictured amongst the guns. The weird part of that is, if that was in the car, that tag was on what car? The Ford or the truck? Because where did the Cadillac come from and what tag was on that Cadillac? Tennessee, Alabama, or Indiana? Curious. Maybe Casey told her to buy all those guns. Did she have all those guns before he came back to this jail in Alabama in February? One could believe that they had been talking beforehand, because this content says she bought her house, she sold her house February 24th. Okay, 1 day before he came back to the jail. So that means she was anticipating him coming back. She was anticipating this ruse. Because why would you sell your house and then 2 months later break the inmate out of the Alabama jail? When they pulled her out of the car, which they covered her face naturally for discretionary reasons, her hair was dark. She had colored her hair dark. Vicki White. Lifeless, gun in her hand, allegedly inside of the car, or was it in the car in the seat? I don't know. Or somewhere in the floorboard, because the car was turned over, so I don't really know. They were wearing wigs, they said. Yet they got caught. So what's the point of wearing wigs? Also, other commentary on the News Nation Network said he was wearing wigs. He and she coming in and out of the hotel. They laid low in the hotel. This man speaking from the Marshal's office believed this was a 2-year plan. As I said, when did she buy the weapons? Recently, or has she already had them? He also said she had more than one wig and her hair was colored. As I told you, when they pulled her out of the vehicle, the Cadillac, her hair was a darker shade. You can see that through the visual aid where they were trying to cover her face from being seen. Once again, the pickup truck. Where did they buy the pickup truck? They said it was checked, but it was not stolen. Indiana police. As I said, what is up with those trucks and the tags? What's the tag from the Ford put on the F-150? And the tag that was confiscated with the guns, which tag did that car belong on? Just curious. What tag was on the back of the Cadillac? Sheriff Singleton, the Alabama sheriff, says he wanted to go out in a blaze of glory. That's what Casey said. Yet, once again, like I said, Vicki shot herself. No shooting at the car. Authorities wanted to go back to the hotel, which I told you earlier in this live. It shows me that she was delusional and really had not thought this out as far as bang, bang, shoot them up. Because why am I want to go back to the hotel? They're chasing me. They're hitting the car with their truck. There is no going back. What you're getting ready to do is tear up some more cars and kill people on the road trying to get back to a hotel or any damn where else. To me, this was a bad idea, chasing them on an open road, because somebody could have been hurt. They could have slammed into another car. And then you're aiding them because you're hitting their car, which could slam into somebody's car. Somebody could have been on a bicycle, motorcycle. Somebody could have been taking a walk near that road. People do walk in the cities and towns. They don't have cars. Nobody thought about that. Civilian walking, taking a walk, stranded, anything, and you're ramming your car into another car trying to stop some fugitives. Stay woke. And my thing is about surveying the hotel. Allegedly, they started on a Sunday night. They got in the car on the Monday afternoon, Monday morning. So that's when they ID'd and said, okay, that's them. So what? They had to wait for them to come out to make sure it was them. My thing is, why not surround the car? Why not be parked near the car in the parking lot in an unmarked car with your guns ready? As soon as they came out, you could have walked up to them or walked up to the car. 10, 15 guys, ladies with AR-15s yourselves on the car. Just find it odd that you would chase them through a public domain. Strange to me. Dangerous, quite frankly. Will they be regrouping at the jail, doing an overhaul? The sheriff tells you that they already made plans to have him removed. Not to return to the jail. Naturally, you don't want him to return because you knew that you would be under scrutiny, Sheriff Singleton, because your jailer let him out. So people were going to be talking a lot of smack, and they're going to talk smack for days and years to come. Hey, this is the town where the jailer let the inmate out. You can check in, and hell, you can check out before your sentence, because we've got savvy inmates that know how to bat their eyelashes to get the jailers to open the gates. Stay woke. This town will be a laughing stock memory from years to come. The town that did not know how to keep the inmates inside. It's atrocious. And once again, will he still remain the sheriff, or they will ask him to leave, step down, or he'll bow out? It's asked, who was the mastermind, Vicki or Mr. Casey? Sheriff says she aided him. She facilitated it. He's the inmate. She's the one with the guns. She's the one with the access to opening, closing doors. She bought the weapons. She aided him out. Some people will argue, well, he baited her, told her what she wanted to hear, sweet talked her. But in the end, she had the fortitude to say no. She had the fortitude to say, hey, where can this go? You're going to do 75, which is a whole lifetime at 38. I'm 56. You're also facing murder charges for a woman, and it could also be the death penalty. What can we have together? So somebody between the two said, well, hey, I can come up to your jail. You've got access to get me out. Or she said, yeah, come on up here. I'll work a way to get you out since I'm the one that can walk your ass out of here. Stay woke. Evenly yoked, both of them. But we'll wait to see what our good Casey will say about the initial conversation of how they came to be to visit and talk on the phone, and how the conversation started in he, she, they about this getting out of jail card. Very interesting information. That guy talking has the consulting firm basically saying They didn't need to add up any charges because he's already facing so much time. But as the lady said, it's due process of the law. The law is the law. It doesn't matter if you're facing life, got 2 life sentences, you escape, you get out, you do something else. The law says you have to have the charges put against you. It's up to the judge or jury to say yay or nay, or the state decide to drop the charges. He aids criminals, so he's going to think like one because he was one at one time. That's why she cut that damn interview short. Did y'all catch that? I did. I caught that. He had a lot to say. The fact that when he was talking about them getting on each other's nerves in a hotel, he told the lady talking, can you imagine being in there with your ex? And she said no. Well, first of all, Vicki wasn't in there with her ex. She was in there with her new beau. Because basically, if they've never had sex inside of jail, everything's fresh and new to them. Maybe they were getting on each other's nerves, wanting to get out and get some fresh air. Who's to say? I don't know. That's the whole point. Everything's going to rely on Casey White to fill in the public of what actually happened between he and her. Did they have sex in the jail? Sex when he got free, which I'm sure he did, because allegedly she went to an adult store. Naughty, naughty girl. God rest her soul. But this just shows you, you don't know people. You don't know anybody. And although he looked very mild-mannered and meek, being in handcuffs, he is a criminal. And you also heard sociopathic behavior mentioned in this commentary I brought to you. Now, other law officials say he's not a sociopath. He just has mental problems. Well, I'd rather hear from a doctor that's a professional to tell me if he is indeed a sociopath or psychopath. And I've also brought you all commentary on sociopathic behavior and psychopathic behavior in previous videos not too long ago, if you need a reference for the said information. But in the end, it doesn't really matter. He's done some heinous things, so it doesn't matter how he appeared in handcuffs. That's just an illusion. That's just a perception. Even with the shootout situation, it doesn't matter what he said, didn't say. He didn't do it, but he has shown that he's dangerous by killing a dog, attempted murder, holding people hostage, cutting a woman's throat and allegedly beating her with a hammer. He's not a nice guy, despite looking somber. The sheriff in Indiana says he didn't care about Vicki when they took him out of the car, handcuffed him. He didn't appear to care for her. But he also did tell them, getting out of the car, please help my wife. She shot herself in the head, but I didn't do it. Maybe he did care, but he just doesn't show it physically in his demeanor. But he didn't have to say, help my wife. Because if he really didn't care, he wouldn't have said that. Just saying. But then we also know words can be empty. And obviously he told her something to get her on board to exact this crazy and bizarre crime. When I was out yesterday, once again out today, I had time to think about this case, detail for detail, for what has been revealed. And what I've come to see is pure sadness. Because despite how stupid it was for her to break him out, hell, he was stupid for going, but hey, he's a criminal. He's going to want to go out. Try to stay free. She was a sad individual. And it's not to sugarcoat what she did, because what she did was wrong. But when you listen to her in that 911 call, and why she called them, I do not know either. I think she was scared. Not necessarily scared from Casey, maybe just scared that he would kill her, speeding in the car. That's natural. Somebody speeding and you're in the car, you want them to slow down. But he's thinking, hell, I can't slow down. They're trying to kill us, ram us with this truck. And that's what she was saying in that audio, if I'm not mistaken. They're trying to kill us. Hell yeah. They're trying to get you stopped. And if by any means they kill you, it is what it is. Because you've broke this man out of jail and you knew better. And this is why you know she's sad. She was in a sad, pathetic place because you could hear her pleading with him in the car. Can you imagine? Before your last breath, you're pleading with the driver. You're calling 911 for whatever crazy reason. Maybe she's calling 911 because she wants them to tell these guys to stop. Hey, we'll stop, you stop. Don't kill us. But then the flip side is she kills herself, which shows she didn't want to be apprehended. Why kill yourself? Why not just let the car get rammed into the ditch? They pull you out and you go to jail and face the music alongside your boyfriend. That's not what happened. Dead silence. Nothing. I don't know if it was covered up audio or what. Because you don't hear a gunshot. Maybe they covered that out. I'm not sure. But this is very wicked, this story. Because as I've told you, this is, yes, a human nature story. And as I was talking to a police officer last night who was working the venue where I was dining, he said, in the end, this is a human nature situation. You don't know what people are going to do because they're human, whether they're in law enforcement or they're regular people. And that's the whole point of this story. Despite her title, Vicki was a random person who had a title that she was disloyal to. Bottom line. He is a random person who has committed many crimes, atrocious crimes, and was in penitentiary jail, waiting trial again. But in the end, they are random people. They put their underwear on the same way you do. They use the bathroom. They shower. They bleed red. They're random people who effed up royally. And the sick part of the story is that it happened and it will happen again. There'll be another jailhouse, prison house story with some foolishness, atrociousness in it. Somebody aided somebody in wrongdoing, brought paraphernalia, drugs, phones, swapping sex, whatever. Somebody got pregnant by an inmate or somebody got an inmate pregnant. It's going to always be something because as that cop said last night, you are dealing with human beings and humans mess up, make mistakes. And naturally, the sheriff in Indiana said the same thing. That was probably the nicest thing he said during all of his interviews. Because you can see he was very short with everybody, very brute in his commentary, seemed like he was aggravated. And my thing is, what are you mad about? Nobody got hurt, nobody got harmed, nobody got shot, except for the victim. She shot herself. So what are you angry about? Was she wasting your time? I didn't know because I was kind of confused at his attitude. Everybody made it out okay, considering these people were chasing them in open highway, open road. And anything could pop off on a road interstate. I think we know that. Cats, dogs, deer running the road. I was on the interstate yesterday. What's on the side of the road to me left of the interstate with a concrete wall looks like a damn deer. So imagine somebody had to have ran him over for him to be laying over there. Now imagine you're going 80 miles an hour or more and that deer crosses your damn car. There's a chance he kick his feet through the glass, you wreck, flip your car, anything. That's my point. When you're on an open road, all bets are off. Or what can happen? Somebody could run in the road, chase somebody, riding a bicycle, motorcycle. Somebody could be walking, and here comes this big-ass truck plowing into a Cadillac. You don't have time to get out of the way. Yeah, he was too short. He had a very nasty attitude, and I didn't understand what the attitude was about because nobody got hurt, nobody got shot. But like he said, I'm not concerned about them. I'm concerned about my people. And I thought, well, these suspects had been walking around doing just dandy up there. Y'all didn't know a damn thing. until that man looked at that camera at the car wash. And I'm going to be truthful. Young people don't keep up with anything going on in the world. Not too many of them. So if this was a young person that worked at the car wash, they probably would have got away. An older person was watching the news, keeping up with the story. But I know I've talked to a few people in the past week and a half. They don't know anything about this damn story. So that should tell you something right there about true crime, about breaking news. That just because it's on Good Morning America, News Nation, YouTube, everybody is not watching the story. I've told people that 1,000 times. The stories I talk about on this network, the people who live right here in my own jurisdiction have no idea what the hell is going on in their own damn town over. Let alone Alabama, Indiana. And I'm telling you right now, they only got caught because they stupidly took that car to the car wash and left it. Had he took that truck, pushed it in the water somewhere, let it sink, they could have probably still been in the hotel, laying low. Unless something jumped off between them and the homeless guy. And where's that homeless guy? Was he still hanging around the hotel, walking around what? And what did people find it strange? A woman is now coming to pay the due bill for the second week. So see, she had to show herself. So she was risking herself then by paying the money for the second week. Because that's the point. You have to show yourself to take care of business. At some point, you're going to have to go buy toiletries, shampoo, all that. That's why you buy all that stuff as soon as you decide to go on the run. Or you already have it with you to put into the second car. Toilet paper, paper towels, paper plates, paper cups, razors, this and that, whatever the hell you think you need, because you want to keep yourself less out of the way. Imagine people who have been on the run for many years, such as the Unabomber, the Atlanta Parks, the guy that set off that shrapnel and stuff at the park. He was on the run, 6 years? See, there's always people who get away with it. A lot of people have been on the run and have stayed on the run. They have been successfully on the run. Whitey Bulger, Irish mob guy, many years. That other guy who just recently died and killed that woman in the early 80s in New York, he was on the run a long time. I believe he even killed somebody while he was on the run in Houston, Texas. Diabolical he was. You see, you can stay on the run, but you have to be crafty. You have to stay out of the way. And even when I listened to the audio of her speaking, the first thing I said was, woo, child, that's a Southerner. That's one thing she didn't hide with hair color, dye, glasses, wigs. She sounded like a true Southerner. They're going to kill us. Hell yeah, they'll kill you. She was in a sad place. He was a sad person. Two people from different walks of life, different backgrounds, met up somehow in this world, crossed paths, became evenly yoked in mischief, mayhem. Now one's dead and one is back in prison. Sadly. Or not really sadly, but deservedly, because he's a criminal. That's where he's supposed to be. Not out here with us. Because one of us could have been Connie Ridgway. One of us could have been the ex-girlfriend that got held hostage. The dog shot. That's just the bottom line. You don't know people. And when you see signs that people are not right, that they appear violent, act violent, talk violent, speak homicidal, whatever, it's time for you to get your luggage and get on. I say this to any woman that finds herself in the shoes such as Vicki. Run like hell. Tell yourself, I'm valuable, I'm worthy. I ain't about to do nothing to end my life or end up in penitentiary for you. I don't like you enough to go to jail or prison for you or end up in the cemetery. Now, it was her choice to kill herself, but she took the coward's way out. But she had no business taking up with him, period, because he had nothing to offer her. So all of this was Vicki's choice to engage with an inmate, engage with him when he got back, plot this plot out, however long it started. She did this to herself, sold her house. This was all self-serving. Now, as this gentleman says in his commentary, he made his plight her plight by saying, hey, I want out. The only way I'm going to get out is if you help me. I need you. I love you. Let's be together. But the only way we're going to be together is if you break me out of here. She stupidly fell for it if indeed that's how he came to her. But as I said, we do not know who said what to whom, when, where. Perhaps it was just, as the sheriff said from Indiana, mutual. That is what he said, Casey said. The planning of this, the orchestrating of the crime, of breaking him out, was mutual. So we could beat your head all day trying to figure out who said what, when, where, who first mentioned the breakout, what the date and the time. It was mutual. But listening to that audio, I felt bad for her, despite knowing what she did was wrong. But I could hear the fear in her voice that I do believe at that moment when that truck first rammed their car, she knew what time of day it was. She knew they had been caught. She knew, because 9 times out of 10, they turned the lights on before they even rammed the car. Because naturally, the law officials will have to show that they are law officials. And the weirdest thing was hearing her say, let's go back to the hotel. First thing I thought was, go back to the hotel? How the hell are you going to go back to the hotel? Let's get out and run. Run where, Vicki? Where were you going to run? That's what I knew then. I said, oh my God, this woman, she's delusional. She has really just cracked up. Maybe she really did not plan this out thoroughly. And she didn't. She planned out the getaway. But what Vicki didn't plan was the sustaining on the run. See, it's a difference. It's like any task. You can start weaving the basket. But you got to know at some point, you want to get it to a whole basket where it can hold things. So it's got to be intricate. The weaving process. And that's what happened here with Vicki White, Casey White. Thank you, Deborah. That she thought it all out for however long. Buying of the weapons, selling of the house, selling of the goods, tallying up her money, taking all her money out, going to the store to buy items for herself and him, going to buy disguises, play toys for later, going to get the cars, going to get the tags, switching of the tags, switching of the cars. But what Vicki White did not plan thoroughly was the sustenance to stay afloat and under the radar. That is where she messed up. Both of them. Because as I told you, with $90,000 in your pocket and possibly more money, she should have went and bought a place to stay. She could have went all the way across country and bought a place in the middle of nowhere and stockpiled the place. Turned on lights, water, gas. Bought a vehicle there under assumed name identity. Stay woke. Made her way back to Alabama and then left out of there with Casey White and headed straight to that location. And nobody would have never known nothing. Because you could board a bus with your fake alias. He could have boarded a bus. You two never looked at each other once on the bus, talked to each other once on the bus. Or he could have took a separate bus with the fake IDs, if indeed she had one for him. And then he could have got off the bus at a neighboring town, and she could have then drove once she made it to their location and picked him up. See, it can be done because it has been done. It has been done because you have to follow it all the way out. I'm almost thinking this was a hastily planned when he just got here in February. Because the smart thing to do was to go by a place and then plot the way to get there unrecognized. That's what she should have done. Was already had the place ready. That way there was no being seen car to car, leaving the car, being seen on camera with the car, then you pulling up to pick up him in another car. That was just as stupid as him leaving the car in the car wash. Then they say they thought he had a gun on his pants or whatever, standing there by the truck. So you're going to leave a truck there with an identifying tag. And then she picks you up in the other car, car number 3, and they make that car out. And then you stay in the same town where you left the truck, now a new car, all the cars are on camera. You park yourself stupidly at a hotel across from the sheriff's department, and yet you shoot yourself when the car is turned over. You were already doomed when you put the car in the car wash and you pulled your car up to pick him up. But one thing we can say, despite the faulty plan, she was brazen enough to walk him out of the jail because, let me tell you, if you had not thought about this, she could have easily got caught walking him out. Because guess what? Somebody could have pulled up and said, hey, where are you going with him by yourself? I'll go with you. Ting. Y'all didn't think about that, did you? What was she going to say? Oh, that's okay. I got it. We good. And then somebody still says, nah, I'm coming with you. Then what? So now imagine another officer jumping in the car, and you got to now ride your lover to the courthouse to the imaginary appointment. And then who's to say your comrade doesn't want to walk the walk with you? They decide to walk the walk with you. So now you're getting ready to go into a courthouse to an imaginary appointment, and everybody's going to be standing there with mud on their face. How will she explain that? See, none of you even thought about that. Just imagine somebody decided to ride along with her and Casey White to the courthouse and get to the courthouse. And that there, she's there. And she's now got to play damn crazy and say, I'm here for an appointment. Imagine that. Thank you, woman. Thank you, sweetheart. See, that's the thing about planning stuff. That something always can go wrong, such as with murder. 50 ways to kill a person, 100 ways to get caught. because we live in a digital age and there's always going to be something you're going to forget. We live in a world where there's nothing but cameras everywhere. Most buildings, houses have cameras, front, back, side, eye in the sky, doorbell cameras. So you can't really do very much without getting caught. There are people right now who have been on cameras doing things that they don't even know that people have seen them do. And it didn't even have to be anything illegal. Could have been just meeting somebody. A quick touch or feel under a skirt. Somebody caught that, saw that. You don't know that. The eye in the sky. Big brother. GPS. Even your cell phone. You got your GPS turned on. Here comes the notification. You went to McDonald's, coffee house, Walmart. Here comes this damn thing saying, how was Walmart? Damn. I can't go nowhere. Because you got your GPS turned on. And that's what happens. Because a lot of apps you turn on will ask you, will you allow, your camera to turn on the GPS? This turn it on. And naturally you say yes, whatever. There is your walkie-talkie. So something happens to you. Somebody just goes in your phone and looks it up. Well, this is where she was last. She went to the Walmart. She went to the gas station. And then ding, ding, ding. There's a camera at Walmart. There's a camera at the gas station. Now somebody knows where you've been in case something happens to you. And your phone's left somewhere. God forbid. Somebody didn't harm you and take the phone. Well, maybe they harmed you to take the phone. 9 times out of 10, they'll probably take the phone. But just saying, if you got hurt out here, people just wondering what you had been doing that day. You got your GPS on, well, your phone's going to tell it. You can't do anything nowadays. And I don't think Vicki understood that. I could tell that in her voice. She was very green. She was very gullible. She was easy to be manipulated. She was green. I could hear all of that just in her voice. A major pushover. She may have had some darkness to her. She may have been sneaky, callous. But that woman was green as all get out. She showed that her last minutes of life in that audio. She was not prepared to go down in a blaze of glory. She was not prepared to fight to the very end. She was a coward. And she wanted out. And she went out. And I think her calling the police, be it by cell phone, OnStar, it's all the same. She doubted it. Or maybe OnStar came on, because interesting, somebody mentioned that it probably came on as soon as the airbags deployed. Automatically, maybe OnStar was called. And it might have asked, are you having a problem? I didn't even think about that. But the fact is that she wanted to jump out and run and or go back to the hotel. Vicki White was scared. But she chose her fate this week. She didn't have to go out like this. She could have retired, found new friends, new company to keep, new people to mingle with, new hobbies. There's so many things out here you can do with your life, places you could go. And those things do require money. She had it. She could have done something. Should have been getting a pension, all that. She could have been doing lots of good things in the world, helping people. She could have been going to the beach, traveling, seeing different sites in America, abroad, or whatever it is she was into. But obviously she didn't have anything to focus on but a damn lump of clay that stood 6'9". That's all he was, a lump of clay, lump of flesh. And when you saw his body without a shirt, it was nothing to brag about. Scarred skin from psoriasis, flabby breasts for a man. As I say to many people who know me, He wasn't no morning star. And nor was she. But beside that point, she could have done more with herself. She could have been instrumental in some type of way in the world, besides aiding a criminal out of jail. And the ironic thing about the story is he is now back at the same place, from my understanding, that he once was before, the same place where he was shanked and wasn't getting enough food. Don't you find that interesting? So that's why you have to be careful what you wish for. I want out. I want out. Because a lot of us say that about our own lives. I want out. I want something else to do. See something else. Tired of looking at the same people. Tired of hearing the same people talk, complain. I'm sick of this place. I'm sick of this house, this apartment, this condo. I'm sick of the street. I want to see something else. I want to go somewhere else. As soon as we go somewhere else, God forbid if we visit, we run it like hell to get back home. Like, Lord have mercy. Thank you, Jesus. I'm able to come back. Because that's the way the world is designed. All is not well over there, across the street. But that's okay to want more. See better, do better. That's your God-given right. Nobody should be able to take that from you. Nobody should tell you what you should like and not like. You're unhappy. You want something more for yourself. Then by God, you go out there and you get it. But do it the right way. Don't sell your soul to the devil to have a better life. Be with a man. Try to get this house or car, whatever. Do it the right way. That way you don't have to look over your shoulder. You don't have to worry about going to jail. You don't have to worry about going to prison. You don't have to worry about somebody trying to hunt you down. Just do it the right way. That is why many people are now incarcerated, because they did things the wrong way. People are dead because they did things the wrong way. Vicki White and Casey White are the exemplary of doing things the wrong way to get 6 feet under and in penitentiary. You got to love yourself. Make mistakes, but love yourself despite the flaws. Love yourself enough to say, I think I best not go down that road right there. Every day is a learning experience dealing with human beings, who to like, who to trust. And sometimes people go too far in trusting people. And they know what they're doing is wrong, but they ride the wave anyway. That's where she messed up. She rode the wave. Rode it, orchestrated, it's all the same. She knew better. Vicki chose a fate that she didn't even have to choose. That's what's disturbing about the story. Because as I tell you all, the story isn't to me about Casey. He's a random person that's jacked up. There's thousands of him out there. But what you don't see on a regular, or expected, let's say, a jailer with a life, nice home house doing this right here. But there are people who do mess up their lives, and they got a good car, got a nice family, nice home, good job. They just ain't got enough in them to tell themselves that they're worthy. So they go out here and they do stupid stuff, because we do see this all the time. Not specifically jailer versus jailbird, but you see people aiding people in crimes, covering up for people, enabling crooks, enabling people that are misfits to get in trouble all the time. They're calling your phone, needing a favor, needing money, needing an ear. Then they leave, pop back up. They got a new damn story. See, you're helping them be a fool by listening and taking them in. And maybe you don't think that, but you are. Because people who are wayward, they can be detrimental to your spirit and to your livelihood. And you have got to know when to cut them off completely. No calling, no phone calls, no texts, no messages, no nothing. Hell, see them out in public, turn your damn head. Sometimes it has to get crucial. You got to cut them all the way off. Ain't no even a how you doing. You learn people. As Dr. Phil loves to say, you teach people how to treat you. You teach people how to treat you. You continuously let people talk crazy to you, sly talk you, spin webs, lies, manipulations. You know something don't sound right. Sounds like they always coming with some game. Got you doing stuff for them, even though it's your participation to do whatever. But deep down, you saying to yourself, he's always bringing something up. She's always bringing something up. Always needing something. Don't fall for it. Because this is how these type of people remain, yes, sociopaths and psychopaths, because they have to have a willing participant. Did you all ever think about that? In the game of the hustle. See, you can't be a hustle without a willing participant. I don't know if I can hustle you until I try. Did I see something about you that told me I could get over on him or her? Possibly. But the object of the game is to get a willing participant. And that is what Casey White got from Vicki White. And she rode the ride to the very end, to her death. And he is now back in the same prison that he was dying to get out of. Now put that on paper. Two lonely vessels met and went on a crash course in the end. This is a lesson learned to anybody, because anybody could end up in this situation. Because a lot of times we will tell ourselves, no, it wouldn't be me. I ain't that stupid. I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do that. But a lot of things we've done with people, somebody else will say the same thing about what you did with somebody. I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be giving the money. I wouldn't be letting the bum stay in my house. I wouldn't be letting children stay in my house that don't work, don't do nothing, get in trouble with the law, just got paroled, can't stay here, but somebody else will do it. Do you understand what I'm saying? They the inmate, they the felon, they the whatever. Oh, I would never date nobody been to jail. Oh, I would never date nobody been to prison. Next thing you know, you're all in love with somebody that's been to prison. Oh, I would never do that with him. He got 50,000 children. He don't pay for his kids. He don't do nothing. He's a bum. But you're in love with that bum now. And you would never, 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 never choose that type of guy. Would never choose that type of woman. But somehow down the road, you broke protocol and now you're infatuated, obsessed with the same person. See, we've all done it. See, we wouldn't do a whole lot of things. And we found ourselves in that predicament. So my message today is, don't end up in a bad predicament such as this. And even if it's not this drastic, know when people do not mean you good. They're just using you, manipulating you, taking you for whatever you got to offer, be it time, money, sex, attention, affection. It's all the same. It belongs to you. It belongs to you. And there shouldn't be a price to pay in trying to be nice and cordial to people. Whenever there's a price, then that means it's time for you to bow out. And as Maya Angelou once said, when they show you who they are, believe them. If you want to donate to the channel, $BigAngie129 Cash App. Thank you for the super chats and stickers. God bless all of you. Have a safe weekend. Prayers for the women's family out there in Moab, Utah. They have a suspect ID. I don't know if he is the correct person that took the lives of these women. I find that story also baffling because no one has given us a timeline in the article of when this male killed himself. You know, this crime took place in late summer of 2021. We're now getting information of a suspect that worked with the Turner lady at McDonald's, homeless. But as I said in the beginning of this live, I find it very strange that that never came out. He was a suspect at that time, but the officers, detectives, whomever did not let the public know, which you know they do that. But I think it's strange that when the girls were texting whomever to say there's a creeper here, they didn't identify the creeper. And I think the average person would say in a text or phone call, hey, this guy that works with me or worked with me is now camping beside me. That's strange to me, that they would not have identified the person. Also alleged in the article, he's had an issue with homosexual women before. So where was he staying at the time of the women's murders? Was he actually camping out there, or did he follow them out there? Because you have to ask all those questions to how he was able to locate the women, kill the women. Where did he go exactly? How long did he stay at the last place? When did he kill himself, and where did he kill himself? And what all did he tell the person about killing the women? Who was the person he told this information to? What is their relation to him? And when did they confide to law officials that he was the culprit that killed the women, if true? Because that's all going to matter in the timeline between their deaths and when this person killed themselves and the person who's bringing forth the information. Because what will be sad if this person just killed themselves and this person is just now telling law officials that he indeed is the killer? And I'm sure they're going to do DNA testing and all that from the suspect versus the victims and whatever was left behind at the scene and evidentiary material. But know that this is still an open investigation, despite the IDing of a suspect. So did he kill these women? What was the motive if he did kill them? If he is that person, why didn't they name his name in their conversation to their friends that he was the guy at the campsite? How long had he been homeless? How long did he work at the McDonald's? What interaction did he have with Miss Turner or any other patrons or workers there? Did he cause problems there? Was he fired from there? Was he working there at the time of the women's murders? Or had he already been gone from the McDonald's? Those are the questions. Where's his family, friends? How did he come to be homeless? Where is he from? See, there's a lot of questions. When I get more information pertaining to this suspect, I will bring it to you. As I said, prayers to the ladies' families. We will see if this brings closure, because we have to first see if this is indeed the person. And then the ultimate question is, why did this male kill himself? Does he have children? Married? 2 pictures of him in an article I brought you. He's night and day. One picture, he's fuller. The next picture, he's smaller. So what did he look like at the time of the women's deaths? Okay, real deal. You just have to go and Google and check it, honey. Or I'd recommend Court TV. They've done some great information on the case of the young ladies. Very sad story. And I don't recommend anybody living out in the wide open. That's just me. I believe in visiting places. You want to travel. You like to travel. You want to see mountains, landscapes. Go visit. But at a certain part of the day before it gets dark, you need to head yourself out of there. You need to also tell people that you're leaving. You also tell them when you're going. Tell them when you've arrived. Anything looks suspicious, funky, get in your car and get on. You have to be very careful out here on your own as women, navigating in places where the cavalry cannot get to you in time. Especially sleeping in tents, sleeping in campers, sleeping in vans, sleeping in cars. That is very dangerous out here in the wide open where there is nobody else around. I don't care if you're in a park alone. That's dangerous. You down by the riverfront. It's dangerous. In a car, out of a car. If there is nobody around, who is going to save you in case something happens? You have to think. Should I be in this location alone. That's all you have to tell yourself. You watch it on TV in a movie, run, stop, go, don't go there, don't open the door. That's what you say to yourself when you are out as well. Hurry up, get in the car, shut the door, lock the door. Do not roll down the window. Don't talk to nobody in the dark. Stay woke, ladies and gentlemen as well. Thank you all so much for joining me. God bless all of you. This is Everyday Shenanigans.